There is a supernatural world that surrounds us, and sometimes it manifests to people like you and me. You'll hear stories about this and so much more right here on Supernatural Confrontations. Our guest today is Forrest. He had an encounter with a dark-eyed entity. Certainly not my most favorite thing to do, but we'll be hearing about that in just a minute. But first, a word from our trusted sponsor. Noble Gold Investments have made it their mission to stay on top of the most important economic news. 3 bank runs in the last month. These are the second largest and third largest bank runs in the history of our country. The government is taking steps to guarantee all deposits. But folks, that means more money printing. Plus, the Fed is sitting on unrealized losses of $1.2 trillion on their $8.3 trillion bond portfolio. And the Fed will continue to raise interest rates even if they tank the economy. Do you know who are the only ones who are not afraid? The ones that are invested in gold with Noble Gold Investments. Folks, gold is the most stable asset outside of any government control. Thousands have approached Noble Gold Investments to get their hand on gold. Hurry and go to noblegoldinvestments.com to secure your wealth now. Plus, you can bag a free 5-ounce America the Beautiful coin with each gold or silver IRA if you qualify. Folks, check it out. Please go to noblegoldinvestments.com. That's noblegoldinvestments.com. We did several months ago, and I got to tell you, I'm really glad we did. Once again, noblegoldinvestments.com. So I'm here with Forrest, and first of all, Forrest, thanks so much for coming on the record. I haven't heard your testimony, and I've been deliberately doing this because I want to hear it the way the audience is hearing it for the first time. But thank you for coming on the record. Something happened to you. Tell us what happened, please.
It was 2017, and I was living in Minneapolis, Minnesota. And I had lost a lot of weight because I had restructured the way I ate. I was eating healthy. So I was always going to the co-ops. And there's a lot of co-ops in Minneapolis, thankfully, clean water, organic vegetables. And I was going on in there to get water and vegetables, kale. At the time, I was on a strict kale diet, and they're delicious cookies they made. But I had also needed frankincense and myrrh.
Okay.
And we know where frankincense and myrrh is a reference to. Those of us who are students and familiar with the Bible and with Jesus's birth. And I walked to the essential oils section, and there was a beautiful woman, but she had an interesting tattoo on her that I had never seen before. And on her left arm, she had a tattoo of a fall leaf. It was like an orangish yellow, and it had like the markings of wind around it, like the leaf was turning. And that just stuck out to me because, I'm an artist, and I noticed little artistic detaily things, and I saw that on her, and I was like, interesting. And I asked her, I said, hey, do you have any more frankincense and myrrh spray left or on hand? And she looked at me with like an odd look. She shot me like an odd look, and
okay.
She goes, I don't know, but if we do, it would be over there. And she just like sternly looked that way. And I said, okay, in the back of my head, I thought, okay, she's having a bad day, or it's the end of her shift, or she's something. Forrest, don't take it personal. And so I walked over there and I looked for the spray. And I watched her. She was on my left side, and she walked, and she was like about 12 feet from me, LA, and she was like rearranging stuff on the shelf, and she had her head down. And then I'll preface the rest of this by saying this. I'm a highly spiritually sensitive person. And that's just how I've been from birth. And so I'm used to the spiritual realm interacting with the physical realm and seeing glimpses of it.
Okay.
And her presence like startled my spirit. And so I looked slowly at her, and she had her head down, and she looked at LA like this, and she went, and she was looking at me out of the corner of her eye, and her eye, it's like her eyes got bigger, and it was completely black. And my previous experience is with being around these presences. I know that they communicate in the mind.
Telepathically.
They don't like to talk. And so I know that you're hearing this story for the first time, but when it comes to these spiritually things, I'm very emboldened. And so immediately in my mind, I looked at her while she was saying it, and I said, "You don't want this." I said, that's what I said in my mind. You don't want this. And then the oddest thing happened, LA. I believe that she shot me this flash, and I saw the skyline of Minneapolis, and it was on fire, and there was fights and riots and screaming going everywhere. And this happened before the George Floyd riots. Oh. But she just shot that look at me and like shot that image. It was really quick. Like it came to in my third eye, and I saw it, and I was like, I momentarily felt fear, for a moment. And as a Bible believing Christian, and I don't really feel fear that much, genuine fear. And for a moment, I felt genuine fear. And I found my frankincense and myrrh spray, and I started walking with the rest of my stuff to the checkout center. And then I just got this flash in my head, like, Forrest, you might be attacked right now. And I slowly looked around, I checked my surroundings, and I stood in line, but I was still acting, like I wasn't panicking, paid for my stuff and walked out. But yeah, that was in Minneapolis, Minnesota. And just another piece of information, Anoka, Minnesota, I've had friends from there, and they boast and say that Anoka has the highest concentration of professed witches in the whole country, and they're proud of it.
Wow. Let me ask you something, Forrest. Are you First Nation by any chance? First Nation?
Yes, I'm Dakota. Okay. I'm Dakota Native American from Sisseton, Wabaton, South Dakota.
And the reason why I ask that is because I know that in my limited dealing with First Nation people, you guys deal with the spirit level or the world of a spirit differently than we do. I mean, there's just no doubt about that. We have a woman on our team who's Apache, and her name is Doris, and we use her. We go into some sites, and are you picking up on anything? And sometimes she'll say, nope, it's all good. Other times she'll say, I'm seeing stuff all around here, at night, especially when she's like, she goes, oh my gosh, it's like shadow people. So that's why I asked you, because this is, when you said that you were from birth, I've heard this before. And I mean, there are people who are other ethnicities also who have that, but I've noticed that it seems like First Nation people are more in tune with, the veil is thinner, let's just put it that way, than the average bear on the street or whatever. But let me ask you a couple of questions. When she sort of gave you a prophecy in some ways of the city lighting up. She had no way of knowing that the riots would happen with George Floyd. how big was the eye compared to, let's say, your eye or a normal eye? Was it twice as big, 3 times as big?
Her eye looked about her total eye. Like if I use this as a reference,
Okay.
and I'm opening my eyes this wide,
Right.
it was about at least a third, I'd say, bigger, or maybe even 40% bigger.
Okay, so
not
it's
twice as big.
Okay, but it's
it
much
was
larger, and it's totally black. Any other facial changes that you noticed?
As I'm thinking about it, I was just focused on the eye. If there was a change in her face, I didn't notice it because I
Okay.
just saw those eyes and I was like, okay, those are normal eyes,
Right.
and I was like, okay, here we are again.
And Forrest, I want to let you know that we've heard this story repeated by other people all across the country. Black-eyed kids, the guys going black. We've heard this. You're not alone. And that's why we have this platform, to allow people like yourself and others to come in without judgment or fear or anything else and just talk about, what happened. That's why it's Supernatural Confrontations. You said something, though, which I found sort of interesting. You talked about your third eye. What do you mean? Because I know what the third eye is as far as Eastern mysticism, and I had my third eye open when I was in my 20s. I've renounced all of that and, just asked for forgiveness, and all that's closed. So when you said that, what do you mean by that?
I mean my spiritual vision.
Okay, all right.
I'm using that term because if I usually say it another way in conversations, it's not understood.
Okay.
But if I say third eye, and then they, like you're asking to expound on what I mean, I say it's my spiritual eye.
Right. And you know what? The Lord has given me sometimes a gift like that where I'll go, that something is going on there. I'll see, not like you, but I mean, I'll get certain things, a heads up here, look at that, watch that over there, type of thing. Forrest, thanks so much for coming on the record. I'll give you the last word. Thank you.
If you're a Bible believing Christian, find what motivates you in the Word and pursue it with all your being. And I'll say what mine is this just to win souls to the kingdom.
Amen.
Store up your treasures in heaven. That's what Jesus said. And concentrate on concentrate on his words, and live a life that welcomes the Holy Spirit into his presence into your life every day.
Well said. Thank you, Forrest, for coming on the record. Folks, just so you know, I will be in Jupiter, Florida on the 19th, talking about the coming Great Deception, UFOs, the Nephilim. We've got our number 5 in the series, Crop Circles. You can go to lamarzulli.net. Hope to see you in Jupiter. You also can go to streaming.lamarzulli.net and watch all the videos that we've got. You can binge watch. There's I think 25 films up there now. So we'll be back on Monday with another Supernatural Confrontations. Thanks for watching. Hit the subscribe button, and we'll see you on Monday. Have a great weekend.